Raising women's voices, one story at a time. Welcome to the She Said Project Podcast. Hi, everybody. Welcome to the She Said Project Podcast. Welcome to a new season. Welcome to a new episode. Welcome to my co-host, Carrie Rossow. Hi, Carrie. Welcome to our new digs here at the She Said Project Podcast.
Right. This is so fun. I feel very fancy. We have lights. We have microphones.
We have a studio. We have a recording studio now. I'm Jenette Jurczyk, one of your lovely hosts. If you've been following along at the podcast or at all things, that's what she said. I'm the national director of the She Said Project, and it is an honor to be here with you today.
It is. Oh my gosh, I felt like saluting when you were talking. I don't know what happened. Yes. I was just nodding so hard my head was about to fall off my shoulders. But this is very exciting. We're glad to be here.
So, Carrie, we started the podcast, this piece of the She Said Project in 2019, 18, a long time ago, years ago, with the sole purpose of connecting with women in not just our community, but every community that hosts a That's What She Said show, and welcoming these women back to chat with them about the story they shared on stage, the story behind the story, get to connect with them. But it all ties back to something you and your friends started a decent amount of time ago.
A few years ago. When
you had this idea of creating a safe space for women to connect through the power of storytelling.
Well, you always make it sound so much better than it actually was. Like, it really was just, three broads having a beer on the patio and talking about, our kids running around and just talking about all the different things that women talk about. And one of them was like, wow, we'd really love to find a way to mix all of our skill sets and work together, because what we'd been doing was working together in somebody's guest bedroom, and we called it the mom office, which led to calling it the Moffice. And so we had so much fun working together that we wanted to find something to do. We wanted to do something that our girls would be proud of. And about 8,000 times a day, somebody would make a comment and one of us would blurt out, "That's what she said." So then out of that, just three women who liked working together, it just sort of evolved, and we wanted to do something that was funny and serious and that really represented real women and had conversations like the conversations we had. They weren't all Hallmark ad conversations. We wanted to show this is what women really talk about, and it's the whole spectrum. It's funny, it's sad, it's everything.
It's life. Because life is all of these things. And what you found is that every woman you meet in your neighborhood, in your community, every woman has a story. Everyone has a story. Yeah. But what you guys did is you found a place where women could be lifted up. They could have a microphone. They could share those stories in a way that make other women feel seen and feel heard. And so we're talking about the live performance called That's What She Said, which started, in 2013 in Champaign-Urbana, Illinois, where we sit today. And it has grown and expanded, and we're going to spend this whole episode talking about the history of That's What She Said, where we are today, the growth, the expansion, the opportunities, the fun, the joy, the celebrations, all of it. But what we want to do is welcome you guys to this new season, because you might have noticed a few things have changed. We have already released our first 100 episodes of the She Said Project podcast, which means we've connected with and visited with 100 women who've already been part of the She Said family, who already shared a story. We welcomed them back on the podcast, got to chat with them. I've heard you say this. It's one of my favorite things, just to carve out some time in our day to just reconnect with women. And to spend time with you, it's the best.
Well, obviously.
But
it really is a great thing. It makes even though we live in a big, small town, it really makes it even smaller, because we keep having these connections, and you pass somebody on when you're walking the kids or your dog, or you see them at the grocery store. And it makes you all warm and fuzzy. And then, the next thing you know, you're just rehashing it in aisle 9, and it's great fun. And so I think building in these opportunities to share what we already know about all these amazing women, but to introduce them to our community is so much fun.
And it's like the party doesn't have to end just because they were on stage one night. Like, they're still part of the family. Come on back. Come on visit with us. We want to know more. We absolutely want to know more.
Well, everything we always talk about, like it being a party. And so the show is the big party. And then often I feel like the podcast is that, like once everybody leaves and they're just like 6 women standing around the kitchen
the
telling.
shoes come off. The hair comes down.
Yes,
pour
the bras come off maybe.
4th glass of wine.
Yep.
Beer.
And that's when we know, like, that's when it really gets good. And so we just wanted to share those funny and great and touching stories.
Yeah. We always say, save it for the podcast. And so for 100 episodes, we have done our traditional podcast style where it was audio only on audio platforms. We launched with a great local partner and they helped us make it happen. But we're coming back with episode 101. And it's all new. We are here in Champaign-Urbana in the studios of WCIA, our local news station that is owned and operated by Nexstar Media Group. And we've been doing this for a long time, and we have a great relationship with them. And they said, you know what? We're launching something new. We want women to see and hear the stories that you guys bring to the stage. So come on over. So this is a brand new studio, brand new partnership, brand new opportunity to shine a light on women's stories. So thank you for joining us, and it's exciting. So
it is exciting, and I would like to point out that I'm not wearing pajama pants because now I know there's a camera, and so no more pajama pants. There are changes.
There's a little more pressure here because how many times have we screeched into the parking lot of our recording studio? Like, you're coming from work, I dropped off the kids, we're like hustling in, but it didn't matter because, we were sweating and wearing our, yoga pants, and it didn't matter because we just had to talk to our guests. Yeah. And now we have to look the part. And you look fabulous, by the way. You look the part.
Oh, well, thank you. Thank you so much. I'm looking forward to introducing everybody to all of the amazing women that we have chatted with.
One of the reasons WCIA invited us to join them is because they have this program called the Remarkable Women. And there are many Nexstar stations across the amazing United States, and they have this contest across all of their markets, across all of their cities, where they name a remarkable woman from each market, community, and they get celebrated. And that's what we do. We celebrate women. And it is only because I met you and your friends, and you opened this door for me to follow my dream and my passions. And every single day, I get to work with women. I get to produce theater. I get to tell stories. I get to do all of these things that bring me joy. Our station decided to recognize me in 2024. So thank you for letting me take the helm at the She Said Project. Part of the Remarkable Women journey was, first and foremost, they recognized the work that I do with the Family Room, the nonprofit organization that I co-founded to support foster families here in Champaign County, with a lovely donation. And I got an all-expense paid trip to Los Angeles, California, which happened in April of 2024, where I got to celebrate with the other 100 plus remarkable women from across the country. And it was the trip of a lifetime. And it helped forge this relationship with WCIA. And it's been an incredible year and an incredible honor.
Well, it was great to see you, who spend all this time shining a light on other women. It was really fun to make fun of you. But it was really fun to see the spotlight on you.
Thank you. And I totally understand when women who've been through our show go, no, I don't want to look at myself. I don't want it to be about me. I want it to be about everyone else. And you're not wrong. I really pour my heart and soul into helping these women shine and be their best selves. And I would be hypocritical if I didn't step back and enjoy this honor that was bestowed upon me. So. But what an exciting adventure ahead of us, because Here we are in the WCIA studios, bringing the podcast back for our next 100, I hope, episodes, and our next 100 women, not just from Champaign-Urbana, but from all across the markets that we host shows in. And if you're with us today, thank you for your support through the years. And we're in for an adventure. Like, this is going to be fun.
Here's the thing. You know, people talk a lot about like the power of yes and the power of, it really was before everybody was using that kind of language. This really did start out with women just sort of like the little rascals, you know, like, yeah, we can do it, let's do this, yeah. And then everything that we needed was put in front of us. People kept saying yes, you know. We didn't know, we had a vision, but we didn't know how to make that happen really. Or I think I said I did, and then when we got the green light to do it and walked out, I had to say to everybody, like, so I might have oversold myself in there. But the great thing was we just sort of put our hand out to the community and said, like, gosh, we're going to need somebody who knows how to do lighting. We're going to need somebody who knows how to run a show, somebody, an attorney. We're going to need all these things. And then just wham, 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 our community kept saying yes. And that momentum was so fabulous because we were just excited to put a microphone in front of women. And then the community, we have a community that said yes to women and supporting women. And now we're in this fancy dancy studio.
So fancy. But it just goes to show what happens when women support each other, when they show up for each other, but also when you set your mind to something good, something that's going to benefit people and uplift women and uplift community. These doors do kind of magically open. I've had so many amazing experiences and stories of my own through this process, through the years, because we can say that now, through the years. And so for the next 40 plus minutes while you're hanging out with us in the podcast studio, we're going to share some of the history of That's What She Said, the She Said Project podcast, and all of the moments in between, from Kerry and her friends in the very beginning to where we are in 2025. So stick around, stay with us, and let's go on this journey together.
The vault is opening.
Ooh.
In 2013, 3 friends had a vision of giving a microphone to women's stories, to create a safe space for community to come together, to be vulnerable, and to find that deep human connection we all long for. And That's What She Said was born. 7 shows and dozens of stories later, thousands of people have come to share in the power of women's stories. We welcome you to believe in the power of women's stories. That's What She Said is more than a show. It is a movement that is growing and expanding into more communities. It is a sisterhood and a place where women have a voice. Thank you for believing in the power of women's stories. Thank you, Champaign-Urbana, for embracing That's What She Said and for being a part of our story.
Well, we cut that down, but it was just to show a little example of, you know, some of the history of That's What She Said. It started in 2013. I think when that video aired, it was our promo for 2020 or 2022. A lot has happened since, but I mean, it was all a very simple concept when it all began.
Well, and I think that we've stayed true to that. Like it was a simple concept, and I think staying true to that, there have been temptations along the way to jazz it up and with the bells
jazz
and
hands.
Whistles. And yeah, I don't do jazz hands, and sorry, Jenette. But really staying true to the woman and the microphone in front of her, and the wall of support of other women behind her, that remains the focus. And I think we've been true to that.
Absolutely. So, you know, and a lot of the people who follow along know that I'm not from Champaign-Urbana originally. Neither are you. You're a Hoosier. Hoosier at heart, right?
Hoosier forever.
So transplants, it's a thing. But I grew up in New Jersey, and all I ever wanted to do was be an actor, an actress, a movie star. I want to be on TV. I want to be on film. I had big aspirations and a big personality, and I owe my parents an apology. But all I wanted to do was, you know, shine, name and lights, that whole fantasy. And I studied theater. My background's in theater. I got a degree in theater. I studied Shakespeare in England, I tell you. I was in New York for a number of years. I was in Los Angeles for a number of years. I'm gonna put this in air quotes for a reason. I was living the dream. And I say that for a reason because living the dream, it sounds so spectacular. But the truth is, I was working a day job, trying to pay my bills, living in Southern California, going, I had been there for 10 years. I was going on audition after audition. And unless you get that big break, it's hard. It's a hard racket. And when I moved back to Champaign-Urbana, when I married my husband, I absolutely had to process these feelings of, did I just leave for the right reasons, or did I actually give up and quit on these big dreams that I had? Right. So that's my personal struggle. And so I came to Champaign-Urbana, I went back to school for a business degree. My husband and I have 2 beautiful girls. And it's like I woke up this one morning and, 18 months or so after baby number 2, you wake up from that newborn haze and you're like, okay, now what? Where are my friends? Where are my people? I don't know what's next for me. And I struggled because I didn't think there was a world of theater and movies, in small town central Illinois that I could find a true career path in. And then I met you guys, and you had started this show that just was this perfect blend of all the things that I loved. Women's empowerment and storytelling and theatrics. I do love the theatrics, but it's very different when you're a theater person and you're playing a character and you go out there and you perform and people celebrate you and it's super, super fun to have that curtain call moment. But to empower real women to be themselves and talk about themselves. And the words we hear all the time are, why me? I'm nobody special. Nobody wants to hear what I have to say. And women are not given this platform in too many places. There's just not enough stages for women to be heard. And the simple concept of just be you and tell your story and then be celebrated. Like, I know what it feels like to stand on a stage and hear the audience's applause. And I know what that did for me as a young girl. It's a confidence booster. And I don't know if you guys realized this when you created this, but by putting women on the stage and celebrating them, like you're giving them power. You're giving them confidence that they never knew they had.
It's so funny to hear you say that, because the idea of being on stage and everybody looking at me, people are surprised to know this, but when I was little, I was painfully shy. So the idea of being on a stage and people looking at me would have made me pit out. It kind of makes me pit out now. But the thing for me was I had grown up seeing my mama and my mom and my aunts all sit around a table, and I was always trying to listen to their stories, always trying to catch like the family tea that I could go report back to the siblings. And then I also loved sports. That was a huge part of my life. And the other co-founders, it was also a huge part of their lives. And so we realized, geez, you go through life and you have this built-in unit of a team that you are so close with. And then maybe you go into the workforce and you have the water cooler and your coworkers. And then as life happens for a lot of women, you don't have those teammates anymore. Yeah. You don't have coworkers anymore, or if you're working from home. And so we all realized we really missed that. And we really wanted to have sort of that team of women again. And I always had in the back of my mind, locker room talk, that those are where some of the greatest stories I've ever heard and told happened. Was in a locker room, but then I also was always thinking of my mama and mom and aunts telling stories, and the nugget, the connecting thing between those two different worlds is that we both love storytelling and love building women up. So you were like that missing puzzle we didn't even know was missing.
Aww. Well, you took the stage in 2013 in the first cast of That's What She Said. So you and Jill and Casey, you created this amazing event. It got sold out in minutes. I'm telling you, this is a secret. Like, I tried to get tickets and it was sold out. Like, I could not get tickets to the first show. Yeah. And so I wasn't there. I wasn't at the first one, but of course I've seen the videos and heard the stories. But you were on stage and you shared a story in the very first That's What She Said. And some of that was this message about, connecting with the women and how important it is to have women in your life. So we're going to share a clip of your story called
Okay.
Naked on Healy Street.
Sorry, Mom.
Yeah.
Sorry, Mom. I'm so sorry.
I mean, if you didn't want it to be out there, you shouldn't have put it on the stage.
Well, that's what my mom's been saying my whole life.
But it's more than that. It's the message that you shared. So let's take a look.
For days, this story, every time I thought of it, I wanted to throw up. There are a lot of these moments in my life, and I decided this is it. I'm not going to let this embarrassing story fester. I'm going to tell my sisters and my girlfriends. I vowed to let my freak flag fly from here on out. So I told my sisters and my girlfriends, and they were so supportive, and they laughed and they laughed and they laughed. Thank you for that. And there's great relief in the telling of our stories to each other. So here's the takeaway. Find your peeps, your posse, your tribe, whatever. Find those women that make you laugh. My friends and I formed a neighborhood mom office, and we call it the Moffice. Many of you have been there. We show up every day with our laptops and our to-do lists. Some days we work in silence, barring Yas's tooting. And some days we dance to 80s music, and some days we prank the people who had the nerve to not show up that day. But every day we laugh. And last year, I made a bold statement in that Moffice to my Moffice mates. I was working on a big project, and I said, if that thing happens, I am going to run naked down Healy Street. And yeah, that's right. Of course, that thing had happened, and my Moffice mates held me to my word. They are so kind that way, but I'm going to fly my freak flag. So on a cold January morning, with snow on the ground, my friends lined Healy Street with their swagger wagons, and I dropped my parka, and I took the coldest 20-yard dash of my life. Thank you for that vow. I'm so sorry. It's bad enough if you saw it in person, but to see it that big, and I am so sorry. And as it was happening, I knew that this was a story I would tell my girls someday far, far away from now. But I would tell my girls, find those women that will take your picture while you're naked on Healy Street. But find those women who will hold you to your word. Find those women who will remind you that you wanted to write that book or run that marathon or stand on that stage. Find those women who will fly their freak flag right next to yours. Loud and proud, ladies.
There's this almost weepy look on your face right now.
I know, and I'm not a crier, but it was like, gosh, there was just so much, thinking of how little my girls were at that time, and embarrassingly, they have now heard that story. But so much has happened between that first night on stage and now, and it's been on so many different stages.
And that phrase that you shared, loud and proud ladies, has become kind of like our call to action. That has become our motto in every show, every cast, like loud and proud ladies, like we stand for it.
And let your freak flag fly was sort of a flippant way of saying, like, don't be the cookie cutter. Like, don't be like part of what makes everything that happened in the office, everything that's happened in the show is not when people are getting up and saying, pat, all of the cute phrases, and it's when people are brave and bold and like, all right, this is freaky, but I'm going to tell you. That's when the greatest stuff happens. And then when everybody around you connects with it, and then you really feel true connection and not just blah, blah, blah.
And the She Said project, the first night of That's What She Said, has inspired so many more things that we're going to talk about in just a moment.
Loud and proud, ladies. I love saying that. I say it all of the time. And it always makes me think, so often the show is, the two of us, we're getting together, we're going through, we have sort of a template to hold ourselves accountable for diversity. We want to make sure that we have people of different ages, the content is different. A lot of thought goes into it, and we don't want it to just be people we know. But one of the most special shows to me was someone who is a very near and dear friend to me, and she was in the show, and I was so stunned that she was even in the show. She talked about like her social anxieties and her she had a beautiful story, and she was very worried about it. I think that at like 5 o'clock before curtain call, I was trying to find her, and she was in the parking lot in her car and like
Trying to escape.
Yep. Nope. I'm not coming. I'm not doing it. And I had taped a picture on our yellow music stand that we use in every show. I had taped pictures of her kids to that because they were her why and why she was doing it. And it was sort of an ode to her children anyway. But I was so focused on her being brave enough to brave the microphone, and I was sitting right behind her on the stage when she was talking, and I could see her little bitty knees physically knocking together. And as her knees were knocking together and she opened and her voice was kind of small and shaky, and she got a first laugh, and I could see not just her, but what I hadn't anticipated being so moved by was I could see the women in those first 3 rows, and I could feel that energy that they were giving back. Like, you got this, you can do it, and like encouraging her. And then the next thing you know, she's like gyrating and gesturing, and like we had to drag her away from that microphone.
Yes.
But it was so beautiful, and I thought that was it. This was somebody going up there and being brave enough to brave the microphone. But it was also about what the people hearing the story, what the power they have to give back was so inspiring.
Do it scared, do it anyway. Yeah. And yeah, so these are real women. These are not polished speakers. These are not trained professionals. Like, she's just a friend, a mom who almost said no, but then did it anyway.
She actually did say no.
Oh, yeah,
and then
no.
eventually
you dragged
we
her
wore
kicking
down.
and screaming.
Yeah.
But I do know Jen, and I do know that she was terrified, but she did it for her girls. She found her why, and she did. And those are some of our favorites when we watch these women who are truly terrified and they do it anyway. And then, like, there's this transformation.
Yep. One of the things that when we're looking at that template of putting a show together, we always talk about we want the show for the audience to be a window and a mirror, that old analogy. We want people to see people on the stage that they connect to and like, yep, oh, I 100% get that. That's me too. Or we want them to have a whole new lens and see life through someone else's eyes that they had never considered. Mm-hmm. And that I feel really proud, because sometimes there are people that I've enjoyed their story and respected it, but then it loops around. And like 5 years later, something similar happens to me, or I shift my thinking, and then I go back and rewatch someone's piece. That sounds really inappropriate, but I go back and I watch their piece. And then I think, it's a gift that they're archived, because I can tap into all these amazing women for different times of our life, which is why we have the diversity in age, because, I know the things that I said so loudly and proudly at 20 and believed with my whole heart, it has evolved and changed. And I hope that it evolves and changes, and that I say different things when I'm 80. So I think that that's a really valuable gift that we have, that all these women.
The stories might not resonate with you that night, but oh my goodness, they will. They will stay with you, and they will resonate. Now, that's what she said. The original team, you guys were like the dream team. I joined you in year 3, and I remember hearing about the fishbowl, because so many women were inspired by what you guys had created that they just came at you with ideas. Oh my gosh, that's what she said, could do this, it could be this, and could try this. And so tell me about the fishbowl.
Well, and it wasn't just other women, because the great thing is this, it got women excited. Like, I remember one of my favorite stories, and I now live almost right next door to this woman, but a housewife in the neighborhood pulled up in front of my house and literally just pulled her car up and had a check and said, I love what you guys are doing. This is, I just want to help or be supportive. And that, I've always remembered that, like literally just coming to a halt in the middle of the street and passing me a check to help. I love that. And so we were, all of a sudden, the weight of like what went from like, yeah, let's do it, to really taking seriously what we had accepted was we wanted to do right by all these women who were trusting us to tell their stories or to tell their sisters or moms' stories. And it's a slippery slope. So we would often have all these big ideas. And we realized that it was just distracting us. It was like squirrel, squirrel, squirrel. And so staying true and focused to the show and what our bandwidth was. We were just 3 ladies. Like, we didn't have the bandwidth to do all that. We were raising our families. We had jobs, day jobs. And so I think it was Jill who said, okay, you guys, we got to stay focused, which is really hard to do when you're so excited. And so she said, we're going to start a fishbowl. And every time we have an idea, we're going to put it in the fishbowl. And when we have the opportunity, we'll do those things. So whenever there would be that runaway train of, you guys, what if we did this for teens? Wouldn't it be great if teens had this kind of empowerment, if we were empowering girls at a younger age instead of waiting until they're 40? All of these things, we should write a book. Yes, we should totally write a book. I mean, all of these things, like, we were getting carried away, but we would just put it in the fishbowl. And then part of the evolution of She Said was realizing we don't have that kind of bandwidth to pull all those things off. And then when your puzzle piece fit in, I feel like you have sort of plucked one by one things out of that fishbowl and made it happen. And it's kind of embarrassing that, like, the 3 of us were like, yeah, we don't have the bandwidth. And then one person was like, scoot over, ladies, I got this.
Except for the fact that you guys were in an industry, a realm that was completely new to you. And I like bringing this up that, how do I say this? Like, your realm of stress was my realm of joy. The things that you guys had never done that you were trying to figure out. I had been producing theater my whole life. And so those were the things that were easy for me. I could produce theater in my sleep, and those were the things you had never done before. And so, yeah, we take for granted that someone else's stress triggers are, could bring you joy, and vice versa. Like, you're a sports mom. I'm raising an athlete daughter, child. I don't know how to be a sports mom, but that's a whole different conversation. I want to share with our audience some of the things from the fishbowl that have come to life, and we'll do that in just a moment. So, speaking of the fishbowl, there were a lot of cool things through the years that the whole She Said team has gotten to create and be part of. So back in the early days when I joined and you were working with Jill and Casey and Annie Poppin, you guys had this event called Lady Fest. Do you remember Lady Fest?
Yeah, and that was all our graphic designer, Annie Poppin, who was another person so when we came out of that initial pitch meeting, and I said to the other co-founders, so I might have oversold myself in there, but we are definitely going to need, like, a graphic designer. And then literally from the other side, like, out pops this woman, and she was like, I'm a graphic designer.
The way she tells the story, I think she was hiding, like, behind the potted plant in the corner when you guys had that meeting, and she just showed up and said, here I am.
Yes. It was so great.
Was
very
a dream
creative
to work with. I mean, I want to give her some credit because she created the logo and the branding and, like, everything that's
you
what
see
she
her
said
fingerprints.
Has been. She's still part of it.
Her fingerprints are on so much of what
she's done
people
some really
see.
cool stuff through the years, and we've followed along with her journey as well. But Lady Fest was making That's What She Said kind of the center of a weekend full of events, to empower women. I vividly remember, like, painting parties. I remember a 1920s speakeasy party.
Roller derby,
yes. I remember a flash mob in downtown Champaign. So it was all these fun things that just brought women together. That was one of the fishbowl ideas. I remember partnering with the Illinois Marathon and taking on the annual shoe drive that's part of the marathon. I am very proud to say I still run the shoe drive today. It's been 12 years. More than 12 years. And every year I go to the Illinois Marathon Expo and run the shoe drive, and I love it. So we call that, at one point it was She Said Stepping Up, but I call it the She Said Project.
I love that.
I love the She Said Project. Do you remember the web series?
Loved that. That was so fun.
I kind of feel like this is a full circle moment because we certainly recognized that there were so many women. Just to do one show once a year and only put, 8, 9 women on a stage wasn't enough. So we did for a while back in 2016 have like a coffee talk morning show where we invited more women from the community to come chat with us. I loved it.
Fun. It was great fun.
And now we get to do that here and talk to women. And what else was in the podcast? what else was in the fishbowl? But this right here, the podcast.
Yeah,
it was one of the fishbowl ideas.
Yep. Well, and one of the things that we really wanted to do was we wanted to travel. And one of the things I always tried to be aware of is the privilege that we have, that we live in a place where that this could even happen. One, that we were women who were in a stage of our lives that we could make this happen. If you are living paycheck to paycheck and you're struggling, or you're a single mom, you don't have that luxury. If you are a mom living in Haiti, you don't have the luxury. It sounds so presumptuous. So we wanted to serve other women, and we wanted to give a microphone to women that really and truly would not in any other way have an opportunity to tell their stories. And so again, with all of the connections happening, and one of my favorite humans ever, Carol Wackerlin, had come into the She Said circle and had taken trips like this before. And so when I explained to her what I wanted to do, that it was not a mission trip, it was a way that we wanted to connect with and serve other women.
It became a
soul journey.
Yeah.
Because mission, just that didn't feel right, that didn't. And then when I think Carol said soul journey, it was just like the light bulbs went off. And so that's how our soul journeys were
those
born.
trips have empowered so many more women from our community to go see how other women live and help tell their stories too. So we have a clip to share from one of our She Said performances where we were telling the audience about our experience in Haiti. So take a look.
One of the connections that has meant so much to me has been through taking groups of women on what we call soul journeys to God's Littlest Angels orphanage in Haiti.
Carrie, do you realize that since this all began, there have been 7 separate trips inspired by the She Said Soul Journeys? That translates to thousands of dollars, piles of donations, countless hours by more than 50 women working at an orphanage in Haiti. Talk about an impact.
During our 2016 trip, our very own Mayor Deb Frank Finan and our team of community ambassadors, that's really just a fancy name that we gave ourselves, met with local government leaders in Kinskov, Haiti, to build a bridge between Kinskov and Champaign-Urbana.
And Mayor Finan had the honor of proclaiming a sister city relationship with Kinskov to continue this dialogue. In 2017, a delegation from Haiti, including the mayor of Kinskov, traveled to Champaign to learn from our city officials and from professors at the University of Illinois so that they could go and continue to improve their impact on the citizens of Haiti.
We're proud of the community that has been built around the She Said project, for the power of women knows no bounds.
Thank you.
So Carrie, when I met you and came on board with the She Said project, you guys were organizing the 2016 Soul Journey, and I had no plans on going. That wasn't part of my plans. I had 2 young children at home, and it was just something I hadn't even considered. And I sat down with my husband in the kitchen one day, and I said, I think I'm going to Haiti. And he said, yeah, I know. We've just been waiting for you to figure it out. And it was just one of the most meaningful experiences of my life, getting to volunteer at the orphanage and meet the women on this particular trip. There's a story that I share from that trip with every cast of That's What She Said about how much That's What She Said and the Soul Journeys have changed my life. And so we'll share that on another episode of the podcast. But that was 2016, and She Said has evolved since. In 2019, we launched in our first community outside of Champaign-Urbana. We had a show in Bloomington Normal, which was so well received. And then we had our 2020 show in Champaign-Urbana. And then we had to pivot, just like everybody else in 2020. We had to pivot, and That's What She Said did not have a live show for a while. We did some virtual shows, and then we came back. Just like everybody else, there was this big sigh of relief when we came back, right, to in-person events. Do you remember that icky feeling that we all had right around 2021, 22?
I do, but what is the strongest memory for me is when we were going to come back. It was so clear, and I think, now it's like you try to hang on to that feeling and be grateful and be present and be in all the things, because when we were on lockdown, I think there were so many things like, if we ever get out of this thing, I'm going to really appreciate this or that. And so I think that first show back, like realizing, like we always knew it, but realizing what a need everybody had to be together and to be connected. It was really a special night.
We were tired of being virtual from a distance. And you know what? We took that and we brought all of that into the first show back. So we tried to make it lighthearted and fun. So take a look.
We're coming back live on stage at the Virginia Theater. We're back. It's been 2 whole years, and I'm so grateful. Our community said, you know what, bring it back. That's what she said on stage, the Virginia, here we are, let's do this. And now we got to figure out how to open the show from Zoom, because we always started with like a nice short video about the history of She Said and the power of women's stories. And any ideas?
Nope. I'm just having this visceral reaction to doing it this way. I
know. We've had so many of our rehearsals on Zoom. We've had to go virtual to keep everybody safe and to keep moving forward. I feel like it's been harder this year to get the show ready. I feel like COVID has made everything harder.
That's what she said. I'm sorry. I'm focused. Opening.
God, I've missed you. Okay, so I sent you a script to look at. We're gonna record something on Zoom to welcome everybody. So is that what you're gonna wear?
My PJs and my mask, and no, I will even put a bra on for this.
Oh, thank God. I was gonna say something, but okay, I'm gonna go paint my face, throw on some sparklies, and I'll meet you right back here.
Okay, same. Go.
Okay. All right, here we go. Well, looking all sparkly there. You clean up pretty nice, Rossow.
You too, Jurczyk.
Oh, thank you. I'm pretty sure I forgot how to wear real clothing, so I'm trying my best.
Hey, I'm only wearing fancy clothes from the waist up.
You and me both. Okay, so we usually open the show with just a brief video welcoming our friends, talking a little bit about the history of That's What She Said. So I'm gonna hit record and just say hello and start talking about the early days of the show, and just go for it. Go as big and as long as you need to, okay? Nope, don't. You just couldn't help yourself, could you?
I'm sorry, but I'm over videos, I'm over Zoom, I'm over seeing people in a little box. I want to see real people. I want to go out on that stage and I just want to see people. I mean, COVID, I'm over it.
So no video? You just want to go do this in person?
Yeah, let's go.
All right, I'll see you out there.
Okay, let's go.
Okay.
The first and last time I've ever gone out on a stage wearing pajama pants and slippers. Only with you, Carrie.
Well, I get that a lot, but I have spent a lot of time driving in my swagger wagon in pajama pants, or even in my robe, picking up, dropping off kids. That's just how it rolls. But that was a first. I had never been on stage in my pajamas, so that was
you got to do what you got to do.
But it was such a. I was just saying during the break. It was such a special night because now that we're only away from that by a few years, it still was so special. I was so happy to be together, and I could feel it from everybody. And I remember being panicked that I didn't want to be hosting a super spreader, and so luckily that didn't happen.
No,
but it
everyone
really
wore masks,
was.
And it was a great event. It was amazing to be back here in our flagship community of Champaign-Urbana, and we've had a show every year since. Our She Said sisterhood keeps growing. So let's see, that was 22. We've had shows in Bloomington Normal. Peoria launched that year, 2022. Your friend Jenny Miller Pratt brought the show to St. Louis.
Killing it.
We have That's What She Said shows in Columbia, Missouri, and Danville, Illinois. We went out to Indianapolis and Lehigh Valley, Pennsylvania. We've now had shows in Decatur and Springfield and the Quad Cities and Muscatine, Iowa, and St. Clair County and Naperville. And I'm sure I'm missing one.
Well, I just wanted,
Yeah,
I had the urge
just-
to like fast forward you because there are some new ones coming up. Are we sharing or not yet sharing?
Yeah, no, it's public that we're launching in Atlanta, Georgia this year, and we just made official Chicago Southland. So, I mean, when I say growing, I mean growing. It's and there you
That's
go.
what he said.
Thank you. There it is. We needed one of those. But it's been completely and totally organic. Like women who see the show. They feel the energy, they feel the magic of being in the audience, and they want to bring That's What She Said to their community. Terre Haute, Indiana, I can't be more excited about this October. They also just launched That's What Teens Say in Terre Haute, our teen empowerment program that started in Champaign-Urbana and now runs as an annual event in at least 4 communities, putting teen girls on a stage with a microphone and having them share their stories. Like, the magic continues.
It really does. And the most beautiful thing is when people, I used to say I loved getting home after the show because every single time without fail, there would be an email from someone saying, and it was always about someone else. Loved the show tonight, blah, blah, blah. Have you ever met XYZ?
Yes.
And those were always so touching to me because I thought somebody didn't just leave the theater and like go home and like next or go to their to-do list. They were still thinking about it, and they were thinking about women in their own life that they wanted to shine a light on. And so I love those situations where somebody reaches out to say, how great is this woman? You guys should meet.
Yeah, there is no shortage of amazing women in our community. There's no shortage of incredible women across the globe. I definitely see us going global domination. There is nothing less. Yeah, I mean, once upon a time, TED Talks was, one person's idea, and there was one event. And I like to say That's What She Said is like TED Talks meets the Vagina Monologues. It's my favorite way to explain it because you get the idea really, really quickly that it's a formal speaking event, but it's not. It's just women sharing stories, but we invite the community in to experience them with us and celebrate these women for being exactly who they already are. And it's when you think about the women who've been on the stage, the women we've celebrated through the years, I pulled this one clip from a show you and I hosted years ago, but I loved this dialogue. It just explains just who That's What She Said is for.
Women don't need a national stage to empower each other. In fact, isn't it the women in your everyday lives who make the most impact? You know the women I'm talking about, right? It's the friend who holds your hand on the last day of chemo.
Or it's the woman who takes your carpool duty while an ER doc is removing a Lego from your child's sinus cavity.
It's your neighbor who shows up at your door with a casserole and a bottle of wine and says, I heard the news, or I heard the news.
Or it's your friend who holds your hair back when you've been overserved.
It's your friend who cheers the loudest as you're crossing that 5K finish line, even if you're walking.
It counts. Or it's your girlfriend who holds up your wedding dress when you have to
Pee, Carrie. When you have to pee.
That. Mm-hmm.
It's your BFF who lives 2,000 miles away and who still knows exactly what to say every time you call.
It's my sisters. My sisters who are the gatekeepers of all of my stories.
Because we all have a story. And right now, there are 7 amazing women waiting backstage to come out here and share their stories with all of you. So let's get this party started.
I just love looking back at some of the shows and some of the moments I mean, it really says it all. Like, those are the women in our lives that we want to celebrate, right?
It's true, because everything that when we created the show, everything that we saw, they were all amazing and worthy. But like, this woman cured cancer, this woman, all these amazing things. And they are amazing, but in most of our daily lives, everything there, it's the everyday women that really have the biggest impact on our lives. And that's who we wanted to see celebrated more.
And so you built a stage. You built a stage, you bought a microphone, you picked out some incredible women, and you shined a light on them, and you helped them tell their stories. So I want to say congratulations to you, Kerry Rossow, for 10, 11, 12 something years of That's What She Said across Central Illinois and the Midwest and growing. Thank you for being my co-everything on the She Said Project podcast. I cannot wait to see what the future holds. This new setup we have, this new partnership with WCIA, I could not be more excited and honored. And to all of the women and the friends who have shown up, who pulled up and handed you a check, or who have listened to an episode of our podcast, who have bought a ticket, who've referred a friend. It's a community. It's a sisterhood every which way you look at it.
It really is. It's all those puzzle pieces, again, that we didn't even know we were missing. And so, show up and be that puzzle piece for each other. And we have a long way to go.
We have a long way to go. So let's get this party started here on the She Said Project podcast.
Yay, over and out.
Thank you for listening to the She Said Project podcast. All materials contained in the podcast are the exclusive property of the She Said Project and That's What She Said LLC. For more information on our live shows, go to shesaidproject.com.